Thank you all very much, and thank you all for coming to this live taping of The Technology of Beauty, where I have the opportunity to interview the movers and shakers of the beauty business, and today is no exception. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Likewise.
I see you got dressed up. I couldn't help but notice, I feel kind of sorry for you guys, you're dermatologists. You can't even afford socks?
I have socks on there, just no-show socks.
Oh, okay.
Under there, yeah. So,
I feel a lot better
yeah.
than before.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while. You know, we've been on the stage a few times. We've had a chance to BS about Sciton, all the wonderful technology. So finally we get a chance to do it down here in Boca.
And what a setting, too.
No kidding. I've never done it like this. So
500 listeners.
Let's first get to know you.
Okay.
Where were you born?
I was born in England. My parents were Egyptian or raised in Egypt, and that was where they had moved as a first step. They were both physicians and did all their training there and had to repeat it all in England, but most of the family was in the U.S., right outside New York City. So then they relocated again, and so did all their residency again, all their training again 3 times. And so,
you've got to be kidding me.
That's how you have
What's
to
their
do it.
specialty?
Dad was a general surgeon, mom anesthesiologist.
And they had to go through residencies times 3?
3 times. So when my dad was a 3rd time surgical resident, he was teaching the attendings. It's kind of funny.
So you grew up in New York?
Just outside New York City, suburbs.
Okay. And where'd you go to undergrad?
MIT. As chemical engineering major.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you started at MIT as a chemical engineering, and I did a little homework because I was kind of curious. I just want you to know, as a loyal Oregon Duck, I hate the Huskies.
So
Now, we crushed you last week.
yeah. So he's referring to med school. So med school is at the UW, University of Washington.
That's right. Then you switched to med school at UW.
Right. So, you're always more loyal to your undergrad. So MIT, we were the Beavers.
Okay.
You know
well,
why?
I hate the Beavers. We've got Oregon State Beavers.
Oh, that's
my
right.
God.
But it was nature's engineer. That's why we're the Beavers. So,
Okay. So you went to University of Washington,
Yeah.
UW in Seattle.
I spent 10 years there.
10 years? Did you do your residency there?
No, I did. My med school was 4 years. I did 5 years of a PhD, and then I did my internship out there, too.
You are such a slacker.
Yeah. My dad would always call and he'd say, when are you going to get a real job? But no, it was
Well,
a
your
great
dad
time.
couldn't get it right. He had to do it 3 times to get it
Yes,
right.
it's true. So I should have said that, following in your footsteps.
Really? No kidding. I think they've set a path for you guys. Okay. So then after 10 years in Seattle, you moved to?
I matched in dermatology at the University of Rochester, upstate New York.
Okay. And that's where you've been since then?
No, then I went back to the West Coast to do what was then called a procedural dermatology fellowship at UCSF. So I was really rooted in surgical management of skin cancer, dermatologic oncology, and aesthetics. So we had access to every laser on the planet, sometimes 3 or 4 of them in every room at UCSF.
Okay. And who was the program director or the chair at that?
Roy Grecken,
Okay,
who's a tight family member of Sciton, and I think still owns one of the first Joule devices. That still works great. But what I noticed is, as a fellow, we had all these lasers, and Roy would always use the Sciton laser, and that was my introduction to Sciton.
And about what year was that?
That would have been 2009.
Okay. So after 1 year fellowship there, you then returned to Rochester?
I stayed working in San Francisco. I met my now wife there and really had no tie to Rochester, so I kind of never thought I would be back there. But at the time, they needed another person in the department at the University of Rochester, so I was somewhat recruited to come back. And I said, no, I'm not going to come back unless you buy me a fully loaded Sciton Joule, and then I'll come back. No joke. And that's what sealed the deal for me.
And you've been there ever since?
I've been there ever since.
When did you arrive there?
So I started there very late 2010, and then I was full-time at the U of R till 2019, at which time I left and started my own private practice.
So are you a clinical professor now, or are you still on staff as a professor?
No, I still have my full faculty position there, but it's mostly in a teaching role. And the residents come. We teach plastic surgery, ENT, ophthalmology, and dermatology residents at our practice.
Okay. And do you have one location, multiple locations? What's that look like for us?
We have one giant 16,000 square foot location.
Wow.
Yeah. But you can do that in Rochester, right? Where you can have basically a whole strip mall of a building.
So give us a little feel for a look at your laser offerings or their non-surgical. Do you have multiple extenders? You have multiple physicians? It looked on your website like it was 3 physicians if I
We
saw
have
it
3
right.
physicians, 2 of us are surgical, 1 is a general derm, and then we have 2 extenders, 1 PA and 1 NP that are predominantly general dermatology and starting to take on some of the aesthetics load as well.
Okay. And when you went, they bought you your first Cyton, and that sealed the deal.
That sealed the deal.
Okay.
Prerequisite.
And now what do you have in the way of Cytons?
So I only have Cyton devices. I don't own
Okay,
any lasers
that's the
that
best
are
answer to give right now.
non-Cyton devices. And that is as true can be. Anybody that knows me, I don't believe in technology that doesn't work. We want things that are effective for our patients. So we have 1 Joule X system fully loaded and 3 millijoule systems and 1 Bare HR hair removal system.
Okay. Do you have a go-to for, say, pigment? I'll go through a few things.
Pigment, there's nothing better than the combination of BBL Heroic and Moxie. There's nothing that exists on the planet that can lift up pigment, whatever the etiology, melasma, sun damage, any kind of dyschromia. There's nothing better because it hits that 100 to 300 micron depth of the skin. That's where the pigment lives. So.
And how about texture, wrinkles, skin quality? What's your favorite go-to?
Favorite? I love to do deep erbium resurfacing, but obviously that's not a go-to for every patient. It doesn't fit with their lifestyle with the long recovery and a little bit painful of a procedure, but that's where Halo comes in, this powerhouse of corrective ability that can really bridge the gap between the lighter, very light resurfacing treatments and the heavy treatments. And ultimately, we combine them a lot. Love doing
That was my
Halo for the
follow-up
upper
question.
part of the face, deep resurfacing periorally or periorbitally, and that's how we really get the nice results.
So you're a big fan of combining Halo with Heroic simultaneously?
I never do Halo without Heroic, but then sometimes we also add the TRL, the erbium YAG resurfacing later. That's what this whole company was founded upon. That's really the beauty of it, when you can combine everything in the same patient.
Well, as a consumer myself of the product, that is to say, as a patient, doing combined multiple times, I have to tell you, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
I've had numerous Halos and even more Heroes, and now Heroics. But I, in my practice, as well as on my own face, it's unbelievable. I was talking to Dr. Bitter here a moment ago. I was trying to talk him into treating me here with the Skin Tight. We'll get to that in a moment.
He might be giving you a run for the money for the most number of treatments. Received.
He told me he wants me to do one every month on the Skin Tight. I don't think I can possibly do that, but I'm a big fan. Let's get back to what you think about it. So you first had a BBL, of course, and then you had the Hero.
Right.
And now we have Heroic.
That's right.
Tell me about your thoughts about where Hero fits into Heroic before you get to Skin Smooth. So let's kind of set the stage.
Okay.
BBL, Hero, Heroic.
First generation, second generation, third generation. I mean, it's no different than getting your iPhone 1, your iPhone 6, and now your iPhone 16. It's not like this incremental change. These were really seismic changes between the first to second, meaning standard BBL to Hero, and then from Hero to Heroic. These are not just incremental changes. And we had the privilege of helping the engineers and the team at Cyton develop the Heroic from conception to fruition over the last 7 or 8 years. Really going back and forth, machines being shipped from Palo Alto to Rochester all the time, and on creating these things. And like I had said earlier, the wires hanging out of the back, things misfiring a little bit, but perfecting it so that we could deliver this product that was unmatched in any market as far as the level of technology that's delivered at your fingertips consistently over and over and over. And the results are just out of this world.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, let's talk a little about Skin Smooth and Patrick's idea of adding that feature to the Heroic. Were you, did you initially embrace it? Were you skeptical? What was your...
Can we be honest?
Yeah, be
Honestly, I thought it was a marketing scheme at first. I thought
that's what I heard.
We're kind of just adding this in to sweeten the deal a little bit. Maybe the reps could sell a few more products, but I was wrong.
Tell us about that.
I started using it, of course, because that's what a curious mind wants to do. And if it doesn't work, I'm not going to upsell patients on this. And we started doing it as Patrick has described it, like a finishing step after a heroic treatment. First of all, the patients just enjoy the way it feels. So once you're doing it, it's not an unpleasant procedure that they just have to get through. They actually enjoy it the same way you might enjoy a massage.
Really?
And then just the increased luminosity, glow, and smoothness of the skin, basically we would do half the face, and I would see patients back, and that half was clearly better. So
you did split face?
I did split face. Yeah, that's the way you got to do it, right? Internal control.
Uh-huh. And did you do it as a standalone or with the heroic?
I typically always do it as a finishing step. I don't do a lot of it as a standalone treatment. That's not to say it doesn't work that way, but I think where I live, upstate New York, a little different market than Silicon Valley and so forth.
What if a patient were to ask you for a standalone skin smooth?
Absolutely. I think
do you have any problems with that?
No. Once they've gone through the series of corrective treatments where they have no more pigment, they have no more vascularity, and they just want that shine and glow and sort of resetting that clock every month or 2 months or 3 months, absolutely. That's a fantastic application of it.
So now, would you ever do a heroic without the skin smooth?
Sometimes I do. I think for the very younger patient that's basically coming in to have some freckles removed, maybe if I'm running a little behind on time, but we typically always add it at the end. Yeah. And I don't charge more for it. It's just part of the heroic package, because what we've seen with heroic now is we get through the treatment so much quicker. Because you're delivering pulses, 7, 8, 9 pulses per second. You've done their face, neck, and chest. It's kind of fun just to add it. They like it, and I like it. So.
And my understanding is there's no added cost to the consumer, meaning the physician consumer now, the practice doesn't pay additional. It comes with the heroic.
That's
my understanding.
Right. And even if, from what I understand, even people who have already purchased the heroic will now be able to upgrade at no charge.
Right. So if you own a heroic, you can upgrade it at no cost.
Correct.
With the software package and the filter.
And the filter.
Right?
It's a beautiful filter, too. It just looks nice.
If you're into filters.
If you're into
Said
filters.
the engineer from MIT, the slacker.
That's right.
Okay, so what is your practice looking like now that you're offering the heroic with the skin smooth? Have you picked up your numbers? Has it changed anything at all?
I think it's just had happier patients and better results, and that's how we pick things up. I mean, I don't think necessarily people come asking for Skin Smooth, and we don't do a ton of social media and a ton of marketing because, quite frankly, we're already so busy that we're booking so far out that we don't need to do that because we've had such great results. Word of mouth is really the best marketing you can have. And so, but the experienced BBL consumer now has recognized the difference. They're telling their friends, they're telling their family members, and we do it really for everybody for the most part now.
Yeah, having too many patients, that's kind of a champagne problem, isn't it?
Well, when you're the one doing all the treatments, it can be a little daunting, but
it sounds like you're very busy with that big of an office, that footprint with only 3 docs and 2 extenders.
And we do a lot of care for skin cancer patients. Really, I split my day. In the mornings, we do skin cancer surgery, Mohs surgery, and then the afternoons are all aesthetics.
When you do your Mohs excisions, are you doing the reconstructions yourself?
Essentially 100%, yeah.
And then following up with lasers for the scars and so forth?
If they need it, we typically will do very light, sometimes profractional, sometimes clear silk, sometimes clear V, just to have all those tools there. Sometimes you have these beautiful scars, but they're just faint and a little hypopigmented, and women don't like that. And so, especially a pink patient to begin with, the scar can be very prominent, even if it's fine in its hypopigmented nature. Profractional just erases that, and I love that.
So, did I hear you right that half of your practice, 50%, is Mohs and cancer excisions?
That's right.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Okay, so you're an engineer, you're a Husky, you're a Beaver. I'm going to try to forget those last 2. Trained at the University of Washington. You've done this Mohs fellowship. You're working with Cyton. They're shipping you lasers. You're shipping them back with that engineering background. I want you to look into your crystal ball and tell me, what are we going to be talking about? What are we going to be looking at, say, 3, 5, 10 years from now in lasers or even outside of lasers in aesthetics? What's the world look like 3, 5, and 10 years?
It's clear where it's going. I think it's a combination of all of the things that I sense the parts of my career that I've worked on are all merging. So I have this engineering background, obviously the technology, that's easy to predict. The computers are getting better, the optics are getting better, the way that we can harness the technology is improving. PhD was in molecular biotechnology. We're understanding that not all people are the same. Why is your skin different than mine on a molecular basis? We're developing tools with a lot of other companies that I'm working with, actually more on the skin cancer side, to understand the nuances, the differences between your genetic makeup and mine, how your skin responds to injury different than mine. How do we harness these cytokines in a way that's more targeted for you as opposed to me? And then we can combine all of these things in the way we deliver these treatments. And so I think also in the world of skin cancer care, we're using lasers now. We're working with some of the Cyton engineers to develop protocols to treat basal cell cancer. And all of the worlds are kind of colliding to deliver really personalized care with top-notch technology. It's going to change a lot.
And how do you ascertain that information about the patient? Is it through the human genome? Are you doing biopsies? Are you doing swabs? How do you obtain the data you're referring to?
Lots of different ways. I'm working with one company that is basically minimally invasive or non-invasive extraction of RNA transcriptomes from the skin, learning about the microbiome of the skin. I think that has a big impact as well. Looking at ways to study gene expression in the absence of doing invasive biopsies. And now you can monitor things over time. You can do a treatment, measure things at an hour, 2 hours, a week, and see how the genetic profile changes.
That's exciting.
It's very exciting.
You're talking about treating skin cancer. Let's talk a little bit about preventing skin cancer. Mm-hmm. What do we see in the future?
I see that there's a huge buzz now in patients always ask, are these treatments going to help my skin cancer risk? Because a lot of my patients are skin cancer patients that naturally move on to the aesthetic part of the practice. And you never want to say, yes, definitely. I don't want to sell these treatments as preventative for skin cancer until we have that data. I think we're going to start seeing that data emerge. I think we've had a couple papers in the literature recently that are retrospective in nature, showing that these even non-ablative laser treatments reduce the risk of skin cancer in people prone to those kinds of lesions over time. And I think we're going to see some better structured studies, prospective in nature, that show that treatment of actinic keratoses, basal cell cancer, squamous cell cancers can be addressed in prevention with laser treatments, I think.
In terms of preventative treatments and use of lasers and setting new expectations, what's your thoughts about the role of BBL in actually getting younger or rejuvenation or prejuvenation with the use of BBL, that paper that came out, and people ask me about this all the time. What is your thoughts? What are your thoughts as it relates to
I don't need to, the paper is incredible, but you see it in the results. If you see patients that get 1 or 2 BBLs a year and you've been treating them for 10 years and you compare the pictures, they look younger 10 years later after consistently getting repeated BBLs than they did before they had any. And we did, that paper was published years ago now.
Yes.
I would love to repeat that study with Heroic, and I think you would see an even greater difference.
I would encourage you to do that. Start with Patrick Bitter. He just showed me a picture of himself 9 years ago. And I was staring at him, and I couldn't believe it. He clearly looks younger.
Absolutely.
My staff that has treated me over the many years they've treated me constantly pulls out pictures of me from 10 years ago. And they boot side by side, and Corey loves to torture me with it. But there's no doubt I look younger now than I did 10 years ago in terms of my face.
I've seen those pictures. You've presented it in a talk.
What's that?
I've seen the pictures. You've shown it in a couple of your talks.
I have.
And your skin looks fantastic. I always tell patients, products have their role, but I tell patients you can use every product on earth every day for the rest of your life. It won't do what one BBL Heroic would do for your skin. And we're putting nothing in you other than this magical properties of light. And it's magic, really. It's nothing short of that. How these cells respond and rejuvenate with this pulsing light of these given wavelengths, and how we can guide the cells to rejuvenation. I love it.
It's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share? I'm going to turn it open to some questions if anyone has any questions from the audience. Is there anything else in particular you'd like to share with everybody?
I think that we're just embarking on the cusp of incredible advances that are coming in our specialty and beyond, where we're really understanding things at the genetic level and not just treating everybody with these standardized protocols, but really individualizing tailored care in aesthetics. And we're going to be moving more and more to non-surgical approaches, even to things like facelifts and brachioplasties. And our goal is to put all the plastic surgeons out of business.
No, you're not. Just gonna, it's just gonna augment what we do, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit later with Dr. Jason Posner and I talking about the role of lasers as it relates to plastic surgery. In 1983, I did my first laser. It was a pulse dye laser at Washington University in St. Louis on a child with a nevus, and I've been infatuated by lasers ever since, and certainly I've owned many. But my favorite by far, and I'm not saying this because I'm on this stage, I've said it publicly, I love the Bentley of lasers, which is Cyton. And in fact, that's the only one I've had done on me.
Right. And there's no other company that allows, like, physicians like me. Literally, I'm a guy that just bought a laser. And here I am talking to you about it. And to allow me to participate in the development and to call the R&D engineers and call Dan, the founder of the company, anytime I want and talk about things and how can we make it better. There's no other company like that in the world.
I agree. The corporate culture is second to none. I talk about it all the time in some of the consulting work I do. Here's to the management and the leadership at Cyton. You guys, you rock our world, and you set a new standard, really. And in terms of, you mentioned the first laser you used, the first Cyton, and it was still working. You touched on a point that those of you who don't have Cytons, I have some of the original Cytons, and they stand behind them, and they never break anyways.
They never break.
It's unbelievable. It's truly remarkable, and if they do, they're right on top of it. It's an unbelievable company that way.
Couldn't agree more.
Do any of you have any questions for Dr. Ibrahim? Yes, it's a little hard for me. I saw your hand go up. Go for it.
Comment, you mentioned,
Here's a mic for you, sir.
a moment ago you mentioned the studies of the effects of our biome on our skin, and genome therapy. Any comment on how laser medial ideal therapy might affect the biome of our skin, and how technology might use biome knowledge to further enhance the effects of light?
I think it's going to be a sense of what I was saying before, individualizing care. And so maybe my microbiome is different than Grant's, maybe it's different than yours, and maybe that responds differently, and that's why someone's skin is oily or someone's skin is dry or someone has large pores, and really being able to fine-tune not just what devices we use, but the treatment protocols that we use along those lines, and doing tests that are non-invasive in our consultations, in a sense, a microbiome Visia analysis, if you will, and then coming up with a better treatment paradigm for you.
Any other questions? Can we give him a mic, and can we hear that once again? Oh, he does?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, go for it. Could you repeat the question?
Sorry to move away from Cyton, but I was wondering if Dr. Abraham has experience using exosomes or have been experimenting with all the exciting things that are coming from the exosome research.
That's a great question, and if you've learned a little bit about me here, I don't like to use things unless they're proven and I know that they work. And we are now undergoing quite an extensive study with two exceptional companies, Cyton and Rheon, which you heard about, and we're going to answer that question. We're doing some very high-level, vehicle-controlled studies with their products to determine if they have the impact that we suspect that they do on healing and outcomes with lasers. So I'm going to get back to you on that. Give us a few months. It's underway now. So, okay.
I will let you know that the last BBL Halo that I had, or Heroic, and actually it was Hero. I had a Hero and Halo, which was about 5 months ago. I only used the Rheon products, preparation, and then also in the recovery, the plated, the calming stuff, and then the other one,
yes,
calm,
and plated.
yeah. I put the other one on first, and I turned kind of red, and it stung actually, but the calming was terrific, and that's what I used consistently till I was fully healed. And I felt as though I healed faster, but again, you know, I'm biased, I'm an N of 1, and so forth. You need to do the study.
We're doing
to
the
really
study.
document it.
And
I'd like to encourage you to do split-face studies and use the patient as their own control.
So believe it or not, doing split-face studies with exosomes isn't always accurate because you can get this field effect.
I'll be darned.
You're training the lymphocytes to react to these cytokines and growth factors, and they move all over. So what they've seen is that you treat one side and you get the effect on the other. And so that's why we have to actually double the number of patients that we're treating so that we can have 2 different cohorts
That's
to compare.
very fascinating, the
It is.
systemic effect.
There's
That
a
is
systemic effect with
crazy.
them. So-
Okay. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us for this episode of the Technology of Beauty that we filmed here for the first time like this. Thank you all for participating. I encourage you to come back and watch the Technology of Beauty on YouTube and become a subscriber. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.